हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम। टेपिया की नई एपिसोड में आप सबको बहुत बहुत वार्म वेलकम। आज हमारे साथ बहुत ही स्पेशल गेस्ट हैं ऑन द शो, नताशा राहील। शी इज अ स्पोर्ट्स जर्नलिस्ट, one of the very few sports journalists in Pakistan who actually cover all sorts of sports, unlike cricket. And she's doing some fantastic work. She writes for Express Tribune, and she's going to become the first female journalist from Pakistan to cover the Paris Olympics 2024. So, welcome on the show, Natasha.
Thank you so much, Osama. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. First, which will be sort of discussing the Euros, and then we will move on to the Pakistan side of sports, and it will be released in two parts as well. So let's begin with the Euros. Like, we have the two finalists with us now, Spain and England. And do you feel like deserving finalists?
Yes, I 100%. Of course, you have your favorites at the beginning of the tournament. Spain for me was a surprise. I wasn't expecting Spain to do so well. Um, but I suppose, and again, England is they will always choke at some point. But and we were just having this conversation that it's nice that English fans are saying, oh, it can come home, but the women had won for them way before.
Yes.
So I guess maybe Southgate should take few tips from their women's
So, so,
coach.
so like it's gonna be a repeat of the Women's World Cup final, which was also England versus Spain. I think
Exactly.
last year. And if I'm not
Exactly.
and if I'm not mistaken, Spain, uh, England defeated Spain in that
In the Euros
in the in the
or what?
in the World Cup.
Euros? Yeah, Spain defeated England.
Spain defeated England. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
so we're
Remember
going to
the
have
whole? I don't know if you remember the whole, the sexual assault thing that happened.
yes.
The Spanish Rubiales. He, it was basically we were sitting in Berlin and we were watching the final, and we were like, what is happening? Like, so I think yeah,
Yes.
but this is obviously men's football, which is I guess a bit
Yeah.
that you know. So
Yes.
I'm totally rooting for Spain, by the way, for so many reasons. I guess I think for Pakistanis mostly it's the neutrals, right? Like unless you really have some strong, for one, I'm not the kind of person who follows things easily, and if I like something, I may like something, but I'm not like crazy after that stuff. But I guess it's for us the neutrals. It's easy, and as a neutral dude, I think Spain is the team to go for. Um, I think they'd be going all out. They had a wonderful tournament, to say the
Yes.
least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you supporting for this one?
Yes. Like I'll also be rooting for Spain because one, like, they have been undefeated throughout the tournament and played some really uh, eye-catching football. I would say, and like initially I was not expecting the Spanish side would be this good, like especially with the young wingers like Yamal and Nico Williams. Like, they are good players, but not they don't have that much tournament experience or playing in such a pressure environment. So like, especially Yamal, like, to be 16 and to be this good, it's just so amazing. Like,
Uh,
especially like when you think about s- your own self, like what you were you doing in 16 and then having the goal, especially that you scored in the semifinal. Like, that was so amazing. Like, just to have the guts to take a shot at goal in such a situation, but then to score like an absolute world class goal, like that's a, a completely different thing. So like that basically tells you that how good he is. And so far, like, Spain have been pretty dominant in all the games. Like, there have been some clinical performances from Spain. So that's why I feel like that, yeah, Spain, I would be supporting Spain.
yeah.
But just coming to, yeah, yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Go ahead, go ahead. I thought you were finished. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, you can make your point, or if you have. I
No,
was
I
just
was just as you were praising Yamil, I was just thinking about how I just saw this tweet, and of course, that resonated because that's something that I was also thinking. It's like he was just like 12 years old when COVID happened. To think about it, like
yes,
it's a baby, but then he's a huge figure on the field right now for
yes,
Spain. I think it's so heartening because I think he also became the youngest player to play Euros. I think
yes, yes.
that was something that I think there was another player before him. I'm forgetting his name
It
right
it
now.
it was Pele, I think, who.
No. In Euros, I'm saying
Okay, Euros.
particularly.
Yeah, yeah.
Pele was the youngest player, and he still is
Yes,
in the FIFA World Cup.
yes,
But in Euros, I think I'm mixing two people up, but I'll just confirm it in a bit. But Yamil has just become the youngest player to play Euros, and that too, what a performance! I think
yes,
it's an amazing. I think Spain was for me particularly was a dark horse, just like you said
yes,
that there were so many players who were there, not there. Specifically, if you follow, La Liga, you weren't expecting such a coherent and cohesive performance from Spain, at least. So yeah, that's what I think.
and I like especially guys like even Pedri like got injured at the very start of the quarterfinal, and then Danny Olmo came on and like he was so good, like he basically dominated that whole game. Even in the semi-final, like he was very good. But like just like the replacement is even so good. So like just to have the confidence to be so uh, confident in your abilities that you are not daunted by the semi-final stage or the quarter-final stage of a big tournament. So like that's really impressive. So moving on to England, like Gareth Southgate has been under a lot of criticism because, and I personally feel like the sort of resources that he has with so many talented players in the English side, but despite that, there is always like you could feel like that he's driving a Mercedes with the handbrake on, and uh, and that's where you feel like sometimes, especially in the games against Denmark and all of that, like his tactics were so uh, weird. Like why so defensive when you have so many attacking options in front of you? And so despite that, and ironically in the semi-final he sort of made the right changes, you would say, like probably the first time that he has done that, and it finally paid off. So like little about in the England, like they have reached the final, but have been like not very convincing, sort of that, as you could say for Spain, England have not been that convincing in the lead up to the final.
I think England and just the English brand of football is just so much drama. Sometimes you feel it's unnecessary drama. Like if I have to compare the teams, like what you have Spain and also the background of the Spanish Federation that has been going through a lot of issues in terms of they were getting investigations done from the police and the Rubiales debacle, and there were lots of things happening within the Spanish uh, Federation and their coaches and their coaching staff, and basically football in Spain is extremely politicized, and it's um, I mean they're going through a lot of stuff. So I guess for me, one of the things that I felt was that these players were playing with the spirit of just to enjoy the game at certain points where I thought they were punching a lot more of a weight than I thought they could. So I think Spain has generally the way that the players and the team is playing is more like we'll do what we can, we enjoy as much as we can, and we see where it goes. So I think there is a lot less pressure if you think about it. But when it comes to the English team, every other player of theirs has one thing to say or the other. I mean, But I guess that's what English football is about. If I remember, it was the same every single time when FIFA World Cup happens or now Euros are happening. So with English football, I think sometimes I also have this feeling, just like we say, बहुत सारे fans कहते हैं for Rafael Nadal, that he acts up more. Like, I think they fake sometimes the crisis and then they pull off this thing. I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe that's the case, but maybe not. But yeah, it's just too much drama, I guess, at the end of the day. It's like, I was just joking. It's like it's soap opera for men, when it comes to English football at times.
Yeah,
I
like
mean, I really thought Netherlands, I was rooting for Netherlands in that
yeah,
semi-final. I was just like, come on, like, come the hell on. This is, you know,
yeah.
because you see, Dutch football is, I think everybody knows they're good with Dutch. Everybody know that they have the world class there, they have their strategy sorted, but at the end they somehow lose every single time. So I think Netherlands. That's why probably I wanted to support Netherlands, and of course the
Yeah.
quality of the players and everything. But England is just, it's England. I have no
Hmm.
other opinion for them.
And like the point about the Dutch, that like I think like Dutch were very lucky to be in the semi-final in the first place. Like they won a really close game against Turkey. And in fact in that game, Turkey basically dominated that game for the large part of it. And and it was a bit like the 2022 World Cup quarterfinal, in which like against Argentina, where in the second half they basically they went on that strategy, basically that they have the tall players, so they play the long ball and sort of uh, over muscle basically Argentina, and then they even scored, even equalized in that game, and it proved a bit too much for Turkey. But like in terms of that, I feel like that uh, Netherlands were a little lucky to even reach the semi-final in the first place.
They were for sure. I think if you think about it, of course, I don't know. Turkey has been one of the stories of the tournament, just
Yes.
like Georgia, for example. Like Georgia, I was following Georgian football, for example, and I was so happy that they got qualified in the first place, and they've had a good tournament. So, uh, Turkey, on the other hand, I wanted to see them do well, but I guess that's where you see Netherlands. That's where the pressure. You can tell which teams and what kind of infrastructure and the culture helps. You know and I think the mentality helps. I think Turkey lost it mentally in that game. And I personally think that Turkey there were headlines literally on Reuters, AFP, and international press that, Turkey have won hearts because they may have lost, but they won hearts.
Yeah.
And they did. I mean, plus, of course, our Muslim brothers, hain hamare,
Yeah.
they should be able to, do something.
Yes.
There's always that. I personally cannot separate my political views or affiliations most of the time as a neutral, because what else are
Hmm.
you holding on to be honest?
Yes.
Apart from the game, you may like certain players, you may not like others. But generally, yes, I wanted to see Turkey do well. And I think Turkish football is very interesting if one goes in their club structure, and even Mourinho has been signed there. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff for Turkey. I was heartbroken when I saw Turkey lose, but at the same time, you can tell that they lost mentally.
Yeah, like it was more of like the situation sort of, or the occasion sort of got to them that they could not close out the game as probably they should have. And just on the Turkish football, like there are a lot of good talent also coming out of Turkey, and uh, there are and the clubs are also doing relatively well, especially like they are getting little opportunities now, more opportunities to play in Champions League and all of that. And they have and Turkey has also invested a lot in its domestic structure, so which has sort of we are seeing now that it has started paying dividends to them in some form. But moving on from Turkey, a little about France, like
Oh, okay.
a bit like England, but like it has been working for Deschamps so far. Like he has won the World Cup, he got to the final in 2022. This year, it looked like probably like they were missing Pogba and a few other players, but like overall, it's still such a talented side that it's very difficult to even think like when you're sort of looking in the pre-tournament regard that how is this team losing? Like they've got so many options, so much talent on display that it feels very difficult to sort of defeat them. But probably they lost a deserving semi-final to Spain, but just a little on France. Like Deschamps, a bit like Gareth Southgate, has also been under criticism that it's basically like more of over reliance on Mbappe, that he has to be sort of the guy who has to score and do all the bulk of the scoring, not relying on the whole team to play as a unit, but just relying on that individual brilliance to sort of bring the results.
I think to start off with, I think French footballers deserve everything. I mean, I think they gave their all, and I think if there's a defeat, and I think this is, of course, on Deschamps' shoulders. I think it's his fault if they're not there. Secondly, of course, like I think France lost in the early. I think one of the first matches, if I'm not, I may be like because I'm a bit if I'm not remembering incorrectly. And I remember that was a shock. I think it was among the group stages. And we were like, okay, if they are the tournament favorites, if they're coming in as tournament favorites, how are we? Do they have like their performance isn't backing that tag as yet? And I think, just like you said, much like England, they were dragging on, and like you said, that I 100% agree that you can't plan your entire game around Mbappe. That's just one player, and you have a dynamite of a team that is there to serve you. I would have loved to see more players from the French side, just like I saw from Spain. Like you have such shining moments from almost all the players at one point or the other during the tournament. I would have loved to see that from France, because that is the kind of talent that they have right now in their arsenal, but they're not using it. So I think it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I think the French footballers have been very politically engaging as well. There were lots of there were elections happening in France, so I was really happy to see them campaign, right? Like while playing Euros, they were also able to send out those political messages. They were talking about kicking out far right from the elections, and I thought that was so heartening to see, and that is the impact of football that you have. Like for example, when Germany lost, it was again, it was one of those things that Germany is going to be that team that you would see probably at least in semi-finals, because they're also hosting it and whatnot. And then, but I think I'm digressing. But what I'm saying is that with French team, I think there's so much, and I probably think that they need to change
Yes.
their coaching stuff. Maybe they need to get somebody who can, um, do better with this set of players. I was really excited to see Kante's name at one point, because I'm a huge Kante fan with Chelsea connection. Um, but really, I didn't get to see as much of brilliance that I was expecting to see.
And I think it's probably like it's a lot on the manager as well, like what sort of tactics that he's playing the team in, so that uh, because he's playing in such a or he's asking the team to play in such a manner that is so which sort of is more very what you would say disciplined form of uh, football. And when you have so many attacking players who are so creative and so brilliant in their individual regards. So probably you need to give them that space to uh, shine through and probably show their individual skills, and that will eventually reflect on the team as well.
True, it's the system in which that they're playing that's not serving them well anymore. It may have served them well during the World Cup, and even then they had to evolve during the last stages, which they didn't, frankly. I mean, uh, you cannot. Mbappe is great, but then there are other players in the team as well who deserve all that recognition. And it seems like French, the system in which Deschamps is playing his team is just, one trick pony. And how much more can you go with that? That's the problem.
Absolutely. So we have pretty much touched on all teams and given a brief overview of how the tournament has been, and uh, we'll finish on with what sort of a final do you expect? And
I think, yeah, we did not talk about Portugal. I thought that was one of the highlights of that made so
yes,
many
yeah, I
headlines.
forgot. Yes, I forgot about it. Like they were incredibly bad, and I don't understand like why like even if even if that guy is not understanding himself, the manager or the team management should be smart enough to know that that guy is not working out for you. He's too old, or he's not probably fits into the team the way the team is playing, and but they still keep on playing Ronaldo, keep on playing him, keep on playing him, and they lost the quarterfinal. Like if Ronaldo was not playing that fine quarterfinal, I'm sure Portugal would have won that game because they have. I cannot say surely, but they would at least have increased the chances of winning that. But with Ronaldo playing 120 minutes, and especially like Roberto Martinez subbed out Bruno Fernandes before Cristiano Ronaldo, like who does that? Like why? It was just
Exactly.
mind-boggling.
Exactly. I thought that was the most entertaining matches for me, which I was just like, I really sat down and I really just laughed all around because France weren't that great either in that match, right? Like, just, you know, it's like, what
They
is
missed
this
so many
match?
open chances.
Exactly. Like, what the hell is this match? But so it was hilarious with what happened with Portugal. I thought because a lot of people were like, probably Portugal is going to go further in the tournament, and they did it. And like you'd be saying goodbye to lots of players now. Of course, there's going to be another. I think next Euros we're going to see lots and lots of new faces, and there are lots of players, even in French team, that you would not see in the next Euros. So I think it's emotional, and yeah, so it's been an entertaining Euros. Although I enjoyed 20 the Euros before this
Yeah,
a lot more.
2020.
Personally,
So,
I just like I thought that was more, or maybe I
yeah,
just had better memories with that one. Yeah, so my personal, yeah, that was, I think Portugal was another, a
y-
so-called, so to speak, story of the tournament where you were like, your
yes,
hero turns into a villain for you. It literally
yeah,
becomes a burden for you, you know? Like, how
yes,
long can you? I think if you think about it, that is what Mbappe can become for France if they do not
yes.
change. Not that Mbappe is like far less toxic. Sorry, just my opinion than Ronaldo. But I'm just saying that that is what happens. I think I don't know how much I'm much older, but I think that was the same thing that happened back when there were three R's in Brazil, for example, the over reliance on the Brazilian Ronaldo.
Yes.
Uh,
The
Back in the
2006
day,
World Cup.
yes. Of course, we were all younger, but I think that was one of those World Cups where I remember both World Cups where Ronaldo was the hero, the holy the R Wali Trinity for Brazil. You
Yes.
had amazing Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, and
Neo.
Roberto Carlos, and all those people. And then how you see that if you do not evolve and if you do not change, because the players and their bodies are changing anyway, right? you are not going to get the same Ronaldo that you had in 2020. Like Ronaldo, again, just like we're talking about Yamil, that
Yes.
he's the youngest. Ronaldo has probably played the most Euros
Yeah.
there. That there is no other
Yes.
player. Like, of course, it's a huge achievement for him as an athlete. But if you think about it, like it's crazy because it didn't pan out well for
Yes.
Portugal at all.
Yeah.
There is that.
Like even if you
Cautionary tales हैं बहुत सारी cautionary tales हैं इस tournament.
yes. And like if you like look at it, like the first time that I remember seeing Ronaldo for playing for Portugal was 2004, and like that's 20 years ago, and like 20 years is a long time. And yes, and it's not like that Portugal, like I can understand for some teams that who may not have as good players on the bench, so that it's a short thing that they have to play the best player, even if he is very old. But in Portugal's case, they have so much young talent on the bench that can easily be more effective than Ronaldo in that role at which Ronaldo is being played at in the team. So in terms of that, yes, like Roberto Martinez sort of got his tactics and his strategies absolutely wrong. And I feel like that even in the last World Cup as well, I felt like that Ronaldo, Portugal has not been able to come out of the shadow of the Ronaldo. And I feel like that Portugal has enough good players now that are probably not as great as Ronaldo, but have played some excellent football throughout the world, in England, in Spain, in France, and are definitely can be a side that can easily sort of is just talented enough not to win anything like probably come the next few years.
Yes, I think um again it's how they're gonna. I think all of I don't know how to say this, but at least for our generation, I guess when it's not just football, but I think it's same with tennis, for example. After every 8 years, you see the guard, you know, go down
Change.
and yes, it changes and you see new players. And I think it's important for the teams and the management, because right now I think specifically with football, these are not players, right? I think this whole brand thing around footballers, because right now in the age that we're living is more like it's not an age for football, it's an age for footballers, which is in itself is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. I'm all for footballers and athletes should get the most. But when it comes to it becoming about brands, that's when it becomes a problem. And I think that happens. It has an effect on in the locker rooms as well, I suppose. Um, I think Mbappe did not have a really good relationship with their PSG manager after a point. Deschamps was like, "Oh, we're so grateful for Mbappe to be playing for us, and now he's going to Real Madrid and this and that and the other thing, something else." The thing is, at the end of the day, if you are these players, they become bigger than the sport. And now, if the selection criteria is that we need to have this person in the team because that would pull more influence, um, then of course you have to pay the cost of it. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It has its own positives as well. Uh, but I think it's just how the sports need to evolve. The teams and the systems need to evolve in order for more exciting players to see. Like, how long can we see Messi and Ronaldo play? You have Copa America happening right now, for example, and you have Suarez saying, "Oh my God, this is going to be my last, Copa America," and he's trying to his best, to play as much as he could. So of course, it's always emotional. I think a lot of I think I followed more Copa America, to be honest, than Euros this time around because I thought that was more interesting. Um, Chile got out, and the US somehow they just like what is happening, and of course then they also had they crashed out as well. But just the point is that I think it's the sport has to work, and I'm more excited about the newer players now. You know, I think that is something that that keeps the sport interesting, right? At the end of the day.
Like you have got to accept that one day it's time to move on. And yeah, like now, as you said, like it's the age of like Mbappe's and Vinicius Juniors and all of these sort of guys. Like it's their time to shine.
I think I'm very excited about this is because there's so much social change that these people can bring. I think
Yes.
this was something that I was. That's why I was so excited about the French football team, even though they lost, is because the kind of messaging that they're putting out, and these players are very influential when it comes to. I'm sure when the younger generation and the younger kids when they watch them, the kind of mess. I think they will change the world. I think that's why I'm so excited. That's why I would want Spain to win when you have so many players who are you know doing so well on the field, and then they also have that kind of courage to take stances against racism, against
Yes.
several other issues. Um, so I think that gives me hope. I think that is something that makes me smile. Otherwise,
And
generally, I've moved on from men's sports to more female women's football because I find it to be less toxic. But I'm just saying that is something that I'm excited about.
yeah, and it's also like this younger generation is like far more aware than the previous generation. So like, and that's I think how the society is sort of evolving throughout the world. So that's what it makes it more interesting and more. These athletes become more likable and more watchable and more followable. I think in that regard.
100%.
So just your prediction for the final.
I think it's going to be a close final. It's not going to be, I think it's going to be 2-1. Just I hope it doesn't go to the penalty. I don't want it to
Yes.
go on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Finish it in the
I
playing
think
time.
2-1. Yeah, for Spain. I think. Personally,
Yeah.
I think they
I
will.
I also think the same. Like yeah, it will be like 2-1 to Spain. So ये थी
Yeah.
हमारी episode in which
Unless
we talk. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Go
No, no, I was
on.
just saying, if you have unless you have that moment where somebody scores towards the end, you have two goals all of a sudden. I don't think I think that would be the only way that they are not going to. Otherwise, the general, whatever the score would be, it's going to be one goal margin, I think. I prefer.
So this was from this episode in which we talked about the Euros and discussed about all the teams in the final, and hopefully we have a great final. Uh, लाइक करें शेयर करें सब्सक्राइब करें कमेंट करके हमें बताएं आपको ये एपिसोड कैसी लगी इफ यू हैव एनी questions or if you have any suggestions so please do share them with us see you in the next episode